Hey, today I'm tubing some paint in my studio. Got some empty tubes, and I'm tubing up raw umber. This is like an older pint-sized tub of raw umber that I bought 8 years ago, and it's kind of turned to cottage cheese. And so what I'm doing is putting it out on the palette, mixing it out with a little extra water, and then putting it in a tube, because I found that I'm more likely to use a color that's in a tube than in a pint jar where I have to use a knife to pull it out. I used to use a lot of paint all at once, and now I'm not using so much paint all at once. So little bits of paint. I use less paint if it comes out of a tube than if I take a big glob out of a big jar. So this is kind of a economic thing. So let me show you how I do it. So I've got my empty tube that I've already put a little bit in, and this is acrylic, so I'm using a little bit of water sprayed out, and then I've got a big palette knife, little palette knife just in case, and I've put a couple scoops out on the palette, and then I'm just mixing it down because it's got these it's got this kind of chunkiness in it that's just not, it's not nice when you're trying to paint it out. So to smooth it out, I'm just spreading it and then rubbing it down to kind of smush those lumps. I think it's something in the acrylic and the pigment. It's separated a little bit, and so the pigment's just gotten sort of chunky. Nothing's dry. It's just an unpleasant texture. So I'm going through just a little bit at a time here. This is one of my favorite palette knives for doing kind of bulk paint spreading. You can't even see the label anymore, but it's a Liquitex. I think it's their freestyle line. The palette knives are really nice. They're really they're crisp, straight edge. They're light, and they have a nice bend to them. So I'm pushing down pretty hard, but even though I'm doing that, it's not squishing the paint too much because the knife has a nice spring to it. Every once in a while, give it a little spritz just to keep these thinner bits from drying out. Scoop everything back into the main blob. When you're ready, I use my clean knife for this, and I flatten this end down by just pushing it down about halfway, so you get a nice kind of flat edge there. That's important for when. So you want to kind of scoop a little bead up on the edge of the knife there, and you just scrape it right down into the tube, just like that. When you get a bunch of them in there, tap it, and that'll settle the paint down at the bottom and get any of the air bubbles out. And you just keep doing that until you get it all in there. The slower you go, the cleaner it'll be on the outside, but for the sake of video here, you can hear if there's a bubble in there because the sound changes just a little bit. So that's actually about as much as I can get in there. You want to leave a little bit of space. And what I do next is just clean that edge out. Clean the edge in here. And then I'm going to use my knife, flatten that out. If you packed it right, you'll get a little squeeze out of the end there. So that means there's no air in there. Nothing's going to dry in the edge. If you're using oil, nothing's going to oxidize in there. And then got a little paper towel, fold it over again, use that knife. This one's pretty stiff. Just want to get a good crimp on there. That's all you need. Seals it in. And then I like to grab a little bit of paint and then just put it around the edge, kind of like the way you get it from the store. And then after that dries, I'll, if I've mixed a color, then I write the mixture on there. This is just pure raw umber, so I'll write that on there and my brand name so I know what it is after a few months. And that's how you put the paint in the tube.